Welcome back, everybody, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and as is Tuesday tradition, Andy's talking about golf. So we bring in Matthew Rooney. Great time to do that, Matt, because I guess we made a lot of money on that game. I sure didn't watch a
Yeah,
lot of it. I mean, it was Georgia, man. Woo.
there was a college football national championship played last night, kind of. I think one team played, the other team was kind of just there. But like you said, we made some money on it. I know Dan gave out the first touchdown winner. I had my over. That was nice. Georgia hit the over by themselves, which was fantastic. We talked about it a little bit pre-show. TCU obviously was not anywhere near the team Georgia was, and then TCU also came out and played kind of nervous and scared, which is not something they've done really all year. It's not at all how they came out against Michigan, and Georgia just, they got going in the first quarter. And like we were saying to each other before the show, um, Georgia's very much a team that once they get going, they're really, really hard to stop. And they got in that rhythm very early, and TCU could do absolutely nothing about it to stop them. And that's just kind of what it was. I mean, did TCU deserve to be there? Yes, they absolutely did. They did what they needed to in the regular season. They beat the number 2 team in the nation of Michigan. That's kind of the weird part of the argument for me is people said they didn't deserve to be there when they went to the playoff and won their semifinal game against the number 2 team in the country. Um, but Georgia was just that much better than everybody else. I did, except for Ohio State. I really think they were.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, as someone who's a Penn State fan, I'd just like to point out that this really just makes Michigan look stupid.
You know what? Anything that makes Michigan look stupid, I'm all on board with, and I really think it. I mean, if
That's
you're,
true. As a Notre Dame fan, you're
yeah, I'm
anti-Michigan.
not a
Cool.
Michigan
That's fun.
guy,
That's
so
just a nice crossover.
if you're looking at them, if you're looking at that game last night, you got to be sitting there as a Michigan fan kicking yourself. Like, are you kidding me? This is the team that beat us. This is the team that we went down, 21-6 to at half. Like, how the hell did we lose to that team? But credit to TCU, they played a great game then, and then the national championship, they laid a little bit of an egg. They like Max Duggan, the second play of the game, or second offensive play of the game, I should say, had I forgot who the receiver was, but he had like a 15-yard corner route that the receiver had a beat on the D back, and if he completes it, probably picks up even more yards. And then he got some momentum, and that's what TCU thrived on all season was big plays and momentum. And Duggan, who'd been their best player all year, just launches it about 7 yards by the receiver, and it's nowhere close. And then their one big play on the touchdown drive that they had, that deep ball should have been a touchdown, but he severely underthrew it and let the Georgia D-back catch up to him. They still ended up scoring on the drive anyway, but just Max Duggan didn't look right last night, and it was really kind of off-brand for him. And then on the other side of the ball, Stetson Bennett just played a perfect football game. I mean, you could not have asked for any more out of him. He was absolutely unbelievable. Last year, he struggled early and then finished strong. This year, he was great the entire game. He was perfect.
Gotta think it helped his draft stock a ton. Again, it's tough to know, what a 5'11" quarterback like him is going to do in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure that's definitely going to get him a seat at the table. It was kind of fun a little bit to watch the Georgia juggernaut, but yeah, I didn't really watch any of the second half. Again, kudos to Dan, first touchdown scorers. Kudos to you for the over. Everybody that I knew that had Georgia minus 12.5, it was at least easy from that standpoint. And we've got the championship odds up here. And is it just easy as just taking Georgia again? Like, what would it, maybe a better question, what would it take for Georgia not to win a national championship next year? Because from what producer Dan was mentioning, they have a pretty easy schedule. And if they go undefeated, even with one loss, they're in the playoffs. So what would it take for them not to three-peat?
I think it would take a drop off in consistency at the quarterback position. Stetson Bennett, I mean, people were saying last year you can't win a national title because of Stetson Bennett. Now, Stetson Bennett was last night's MVP. He was very, very good. He was great in big moments for them all year. It's a new quarterback in a new position, and playing in a big moment like that, if and when they get to the playoff, which they probably will, that's going to be a whole new experience, and you never know what you're going to see from those guys. So I think it's going to take, maybe the quarterback position not being as smooth of a transition as they would like. But that said, when you look at Georgia's, when you look at Alabama's, you look at Ohio State's, all 3 teams are going to have new quarterbacks next year. They're still the top 3 favorites to win the national championship because they are able to just replace that talent with very high-end talent. I do think that with how their schedule lines up, they do probably run the table because that SEC East just isn't all that great. Tennessee, I know they're 20-1, but I think they're going to have a little bit of a drop off next year with Joe Milton. With going from Hendon Hooker to Joe Milton, they lose their top two receivers. I still like them as a team next year, but I'm not sure they're going to be ready to compete with Georgia with pretty much all new skill players. The one name that jumps out to me, and this stings to say as a Notre Dame fan, but LSU at 20-1, I think has some pretty good value. Brian Kelly had a good recruiting class there. LSU always has a lot of talent. He's getting his quarterback back. And they played really, really good football kind of towards the end of the year. They ended up losing by, a bunch to Georgia in the SEC championship game, but Georgia's a really good football team, and a lot of teams lose by a lot to Georgia in big games. And they lost their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, in that game for a while. Getting their quarterback back is big for them, and I really think that that's a team to kind of keep an eye out for. Michigan is one I'd have an eye on, but you don't know what's going to happen there with Harbaugh, but they're getting everybody back. I mean, Blake Corum's coming back. Donovan Edwards is back. JJ McCarthy is back. They're going to have to replace some receivers, but that's a team that's kind of bringing most of that offense back. So that's another one to keep an eye on. But at 8-1 with the coach uncertainty and not knowing where that's going to be, probably one I hold off on for a while. And then Georgia's probably one, like you said, with Iga Swiatek, throwing some parlays. Maybe throw Georgia in some futures parlays. I think that's a good way to go about it.
I like that. I'll just be peppering Georgia in with some stuff. Maybe I'll do a Georgia Iga French Open parlay.
I like it.
That's got to be like 5. 6.
That's our two worlds colliding. I like it.
That's I guess I'm supposed to talk about NBA, but I'll do that while you're talking about hockey here in a second, because we do have some national basketball tonight in the association. A relatively small slate, I guess medium-sized slate. We've got 6 games here on a Tuesday night, and it's a pretty messy slate. Just one look for me here as I look at some of the other games. My Philadelphia 76ers are huge favorites over the Pistons. Sixers probably put up a big number tonight. Thought maybe about a Pistons team total under, but all those numbers look just about right to me. I would love to fade the Toronto Raptors because it's my new favorite thing to do, but I'm also not ready to bet on the Charlotte Hornets, so we have to skip that game. Cavs Jazz should be great. Maybe look for some Donovan Mitchell overs as he goes back to Utah. Very comfortable there, and not that he hates the Utah franchise. I just think I want to put on a show for the Jazz fans that supported him so well for all those years. Our Orlando Magic catching a lot of points from the Blazers, but it's a tough schedule spot. Magic played last night, have to go up to Portland tonight. We'll skip that one. And then Mavericks Clippers, that should be awesome, but I don't bet Clippers games until right before tip because we have no idea who's playing anyway. That leaves one game and one look I like here. The Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry upgraded to questionable. It's not as good as upgraded to doubtful, but upgraded to questionable is always pretty.
I do love upgraded to doubtful. That's one of my favorites.
It's just fantastic. Again, if you want to start an NBA show, you have my permission to pay me for the name upgraded to doubtful. Upgraded to questionable tonight, Steph Curry. Who knows if he'll play tonight? Either way, this Warriors team has been fantastic at home, especially defensively, and they go up against a Phoenix Suns team that has just been not good at basketball without Devin Booker. It has been a real struggle for Phoenix, again, without Devin Booker, without Cameron Johnson as well. 2 guys that are really big pieces. Obviously, Booker, the best offensive player on that team for Phoenix here. And it creates an environment where we're playing Chris Paul a little too much. And when we do, the game really slows down. The Suns have really struggled to score even 100 points, let alone 105, the 110 that they would need to go over this number tonight. So give me the Suns. Team total under 109 here. Again, should be a very slow game. Golden State defensively has been fantastic at home. Maybe things will be a little different if Curry does play tonight. But regardless, I had the Suns closer to 105, 106 points, and I really just like this. So under 109, and if it gets to under 108 at some point, that's fine too if you don't get the 109 in time. So give me just a Suns team total under tonight.
I like it. I'll root for some defense on the clock. I have no problem doing that. Is that a TNT game? Is it TNT Tuesday?
It could be. I just assume that it is. I'm too lazy to ever look.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find that.
Fair enough. That's an educated guess. Still will say yes.
Or like, can I watch it? I hope it is. Yes, it is. Look at it.
I would have to think Warriors Suns is TNT.
Hot damn.
All right. One of the few show game combinations where I actually prefer watching the studio show to the game because it's that good. I still like the
studio show ever. It's the best. There's no studio show that's anywhere close to it, nor will there ever be.
Nope. It's peak. It's the peak. Speaking of the peak, not hockey. Hockey's not that, but I do have some hockey picks.
Hockey's fun. Again, hockey is the peak. Hockey is the peak of probably live sports. There's nothing that feels and sounds like a hockey game. It's fantastic.
I will say, it's nowhere near obviously the NBA, but Turner did a great job with their NHL studio as well, with Paul Bissonnette having Wayne Gretzky in there a lot. Like they have a very, very good crew. Not quite the Barkley feel to it, but it's still very good, very up there in terms of crew shows, and they do a lovely job as well. So shout out Turner, I guess, for having good studio shows. But yeah, I got a pair of picks tonight. I obviously have a plus money puck line, and then I'm going with an over because we know I love overs. First, the Sabres. Everyone loves an over. It's Tuesday night hockey. What are you going to root for the clock? We're not going to do that here. Sabres and the Kraken. We got two teams that played both last night. Two teams that both score a lot of goals, and one team that is terrible defensively. You're probably going to have both backup goalies in as well. Matt Jones has been very good for Seattle this year, but I believe he played last night, so not likely to play again tonight, especially with a travel for them from Montreal to Buffalo. So look for an over there. The Sabres already score and let up a lot of goals, and usually on these back-to-back nights, you either get tired legs and the teams play a little bit slow, or you get tired legs in the defense. There's a lot more defensive lapses. I expect the way these two teams play, that you'll probably be more on the side of some defensive lapses caused by tired legs. So we're going to take an over 6.5 there. Seattle has been, I think they haven't scored less than four goals in each of their last 5 games. They score a lot. Buffalo scores a lot. So let's go over 6.5. And the Jets minus 1.5 over the Red Wings. Winnipeg, probably because they play in Winnipeg and they don't really have a true superstar that people know, or the true marketed superstar, really flying under the radar with how good they are this year. They're 26-13. They've been fantastic. They're playing like the best team in the Central Division. Colorado has not been as good, so Winnipeg's kind of taken that spot from them right now. Colorado should still be back. They're going up against the Detroit team on the road that has lost 10 of their last 13 and 4 of their last 5. They're not really playing too well defensively. Their goals have dropped off. I really like Winnipeg in this spot. They've become a team for me that when they're going up against a non-playoff team, you just kind of take the plus money puck line with them and roll with it, especially when it's this close to 2-1 at plus 172. That's some really good value on a very good hockey team. So good team against a not very good team on the plus money puck line. We're going to take them. We're going to roll with the Jets.
I like it. This is all very fun. And again, circling back to our important parlay, plus 663, Georgia National Championship, Ego French Open. I think that'll be getting some action.
I still remember last year when you told us to do that. I went in and put a Avalanche to win the Stanley Cup, Ego to win the French Open parlay. Totally forgot about it, and then checked my FanDuel account a day or two after the Stanley Cup, and I was like, "Whoa, where did that come from?" And I checked my bets. Oh, nice! Forgot I placed that. Big money.
It's the best feeling in the world. There is literally nothing better than forgetting you placed a bet and opening up your account and going, "Huh." Now, it's annoying because the way they do the cash bets, you have to go back through your transaction history for months and try to find it, which, can we get that updated sports books? Can I have a way to see my freaking bets based on when they were cashed instead of having to go back 6 months? But
come on now.
It's a good problem to have.
I'll take it. Whenever there's more money in my account, that's a good thing.
It is. And that's what's so fun about Australian tennis, Matt. It's pretty much all overnight. You wake up, the stuff is just sitting there waiting for you. I had a pretty good night last night, depending on where you play Siniakova. Her opponent retired in the second set, so maybe a cash there. We got Zanevska 2-1 and Kudermetova pretty comfortably there. Got a couple outrights still alive, and things continue here in Australia as we build up towards the Australian Open. Again, we'll have some Australian Open picks a little bit later in the week. Just 2 bets from me tonight. Again, both of these matches should be this evening. There might be one that ends up being tomorrow. Again, always hard to tell with the schedule. But we'll start with the first wager here in Adelaide. And we're going to go back to Miss Katerina Siniakova here. We'll be playing Caroline Garcia. Garcia coming in pretty much cold into this match. It played some United Cup, so has been playing a little bit down under, but has yet to play in a tournament. I don't believe she played last week, had a bye, so this will be her first match. Siniakova has 3-4 matches here already on these courts. She came through qualifying, has been playing really nice tennis, and was plus 300 earlier. Now, apparently that took a little bit of a whack. I'm looking at plus 250 right now. If you get anything plus 275 or better, I think this is a really nice wager. Garcia is obviously the better player, more talented, more capable, but again, given what the situation is here, where we've got to look ahead towards the Australian Open next week, Garcia being among the favorites to win the Australian Open, somebody that should really be focused, could be here to give kind of her best effort before getting to Melbourne in a couple matches, or comes out, has a tight first set, basically collects her check for showing up and being in the second round. Again, she is a bye, so automatic points and stuff there, and just heads to Melbourne. always a nice little cherry on top of that motivation angle. Just looking at the numbers here, I only had Garcia closer to a minus 200 favorite as opposed to the 300, 350 that we're seeing now. So again, anything plus 275, even maybe plus 265 or better on Siniakova looks pretty good. And then down in Hobart, the smaller event there, Nerdia Paisas Diaz. We bet on her quite a bit last year, and we'll continue to bet on her this year. Someone that, for whatever reason, seems to be underpriced on some of these hard, fast courts. Goes up against Yulia Putintseva. Putintseva, a perfectly fine tennis player, someone that brings a real effort and energy to the game, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but it doesn't really have any weapons here to get past Paisas Diaz. Again, NPD might have a little bit of a rough match. He is someone that could be a little error prone, but this match should be much closer to a pick. If I'm seeing plus 150, I had this closer to plus 110. So anything plus 135 or better looks good for me here. So one big underdog in Adelaide and one medium underdog in Hobart.
I just like that we got 2+ money picks there, and like you said, like waking up to a plus money winner is the best because you don't have to sit through the stress of the plus money line. And it's always stressful when you bet that, plus 300 underdog, even plus 150 underdog, because obviously the odds aren't in your favor. It's really nice to just wake up that like, oh, okay, they won it for me. And if they lost, then it's like, all right, whatever. I lost a plus 300 one. That's not usually going to hit, but it's a nice treat to wake up to.
It is. The overnight stuff is really fun. So I think that's all we have to cover here. We got some basketball, some hockey, some tennis, a free random futures parlay. Anything else to the people here, Maddie, before we wrap it?
Oh, my Bears got the first overall pick. Shout out Bears. We're back.
Do you want them to keep the first overall pick?
Absolutely not.
What should they do?
Not.
Trade the first pick or trade Justin Fields?
Trade the first pick. Absolutely. You should trade it to, Jim Irsay is going to do something stupid this offseason in all likelihood because I think they're getting pretty desperate, and you need to, if I'm Ryan Poles, I'm on the phone with him and I'm, hey, you need to, what QB do you want? Houston's going to take him. You need to get in front of him. Give me 2 1s, DeForest Buckner and a couple more picks, and you got yourself a number 1 pick and your future quarterback. I think that's what you do. I think you get the Colts to overpay massive because the Colts have some contracts and types of players that the Bears are going to need and looking for, whether it's Buckner, whether it's what they want to unload Michael Pittman Jr. They got some pieces that the Bears can also take advantage of. So that's my first call. All
right. So your team Fields. I kind of think that's what I would do. I don't know. Again, everybody likes Bryce Young. Are you in love with any of these quarterbacks?
Not really. I think Bryce Young would be my favorite of the 3. But he's also he's a smaller guy, and he's not Kyler Murray small, but you've seen what's happened. Kyler Murray is hurt just about every year because he's small. His body isn't really able to take those hits. And I think if you put Bryce Young behind a bad offensive line, he's going to have some issues early. I think he's the most talented. I think he's the one I would want to build my team around the most, but I think he would be in some trouble early behind a bad offensive line.
That makes sense. All right. So you're invested in Fields. We're trading the pick.
I'm all in on Justin Fields.
Get some offensive linemen. Get him some wide receivers. Get him some help. Makes perfect sense. But
the ideal situation is you trade back to 2 or 4, still get more picks, and you still get one of Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. If they can pull that off, that's a very, very successful draft.
I like it. And speaking of things that we would also like, give us a thumbs up, rate, review,
Andy
subscribe. I don't even care if it's a nice comment. Just put something down in there. We always appreciate it.
The algorithm doesn't care if the comments are positive or negative. They just like comments.
It does not. So give us some love, and we'll be back tomorrow. Otherwise, hop on over and listen to the boys talk about some golf. See you then.